right? This conversation is for you. If you are a leader who wants to inspire change, but do it from a place of inclusion and inspiration. This is for you if you have been in an environment where you felt maybe oppressed, you felt that you couldn't be fully expressed, that maybe your ideas were suppressed, and you want to lead and do it in a different way. This is if you want to be a dynamic leader and inspire and have impact. What we're looking at is, have you ever wondered why some people in authority inspire where others manipulate, threaten, and even coerce in order to get what they want? We're asking the question that is the authority that comes with positional power or title, is that power or is it possibly force? The title of our topic today is Positional Power Force and Personal Power, the Pursuit of Excellence. My name is Suzanne Hart. Welcome to Unstoppable Mindset. And each week we bring you breakthrough strategies designed to help you reset your thinking. Our commitment is to equip you with the skills and mindset to navigate change and powerfully respond when faced with challenge and uncertainty. I want to jump right in and introduce the beautiful woman who is sitting beside me. Yes, she is back. This is one of my favorite interviews to do. I love sitting down with this dynamic sister. So as you know, she's an award-winning public administrator. She's been an acting city manager, assistant city manager, chief marketing officer, and director of human resources. Yes, this woman's got some skills. She's been named South Florida's 50 most powerful and influential leaders and South Florida's 25 most prominent and influential women in business. She is the author of that book, yes, one of my faves, High Heel Leadership. Please welcome back the dynamic Natasha Hampton. Hey, hon.
Hi, Suzanne. Thank you so much for having me back. Thank you, and for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Now, you can come back as many times as you want because we have some conversations.
Yes, yes.
You are one of those people that when I sit down with you, I say I can go spaces and places that I can't always go with other people.
Likewise, you know that. Likewise, I consider myself a re-engineer of thought, and I love to sit down with thought leaders. And you most certainly are a thought leader, Suzanne. You challenge my theories and my thoughts. I never leave our conversations thinking or feeling the same way, and I love it. So thank you.
Oh, that is the ultimate compliment. Thank you so very much. So I want to start by asking you to, I know this is a topic that's really important to you. Can you share with everyone listening why this is such an important topic when we're talking about power, privilege, force, oppression? Why is this so important?
You know, just where we are right now, look at the state of where we are right now nationally. When we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you know, even before we go there, when we talk about something as personal in our communities as policing, and just as we were thinking that we could breathe a moment when we were able to hear a verdict that we all sat on the edge of our seats waiting to hear, not 15 minutes into getting that news, we hear another little girl, 15 years old, shot down again, you know, by another police officer. And so we are challenged in our communities and faced with this positional of power and how we are dealing with that and facing that in our communities when we are taught to achieve positions of power, respect positions of power, but when those positions of power turn on us, right? And when I say us, I mean all of us. when those positions of power turn on us, how do we deal with that? How do we come back from that? And then what do we become as a result of that?
Ooh, that is big. That is big. So I wanna break this down because I want to make sure that we're all talking the same language, first of all. So that is, you and I know that is so key. So, when I first looked at leadership, when I first looked at management, when I first looked at my first jump into any kind of positional power where I had impact over the lives, access of other people. I remember my supervisor, the person who trained me, she said this to me. She said, Suzanne, if you do not understand the dynamics of power and privilege, you will more than likely abuse it.
Mm.
I will never forget those words. And why it is so key is because if you and I don't understand what power is,
Mm-hmm.
we actually are not sure what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not comfortable with when we have it and the different types of power, it becomes a dangerous weapon, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're kind of experiencing. So I want to start by defining positional power. And I'm going to ask you to open by what's your working definition of that. Then I'll give you mine, and then we'll jump into that a bit.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it's probably best to start with yours. And then I'm going to tell you why. For me, as a transformative leader, I look at positions as privilege, and privilege in that I get to transform and affect lives.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I've been able to inspire.
Mm-hmm.
And while I have seen people take positions and use those positions in as a form of power, which in turn becomes abusive, then because it's the term power, right? And it doesn't have to be, and I guess we can get into that a little bit later, but I tend to stick to the philosophy of position of privilege, because it is a privilege to have a platform where you could affect lives in a positive way and inspire and transform lives in a positive way.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, and I want to break it down because I really want to make a distinction for everyone listening, so that my goal is to challenge people to think through this.
Yeah.
So when I talk about positional power, for me, positional power is external.
Yeah.
Right. And I equate it, and most people don't like to hear this, I equate it with force.
Yeah.
Because anything that's external of you is something forceful.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when people exercise positional power, what I want people to understand is that it is we ask, we tell, we coerce, but the ask is under the guise of the authority to exclude, the authority to withhold, the authority to cut off, the authority to oppress, all those different things. And when people define it that way, it's kind of like I'm doing it intentionally, because I want people to understand what happens when power is given to you by an external authority called title.
Yes. And when you are not defining your power as a privilege, when you are looking at it from a as you stated, Suzanne, when it's about the title, when it's about the look, when it's about the glitz and the glam, and the you want someone to respect you because it's the title, when it's any position, it's about the work that we're here and we're set to do. right?
Mhm.
Our service above self. When it becomes anything else, it becomes positional power
Right.
because it's external. It's outside of you now. It's
Mhm.
outside of you now. And whenever it's outside of you, you no longer see it for what it's supposed to be. And now it becomes abusive, oppressive. It becomes about what it can do for you as opposed to what you can do for it.
And this is why it's so key for me to define it. And I've always, and way before this conversation was in the marketplace, I've always defined it. I've defined it for every team I've worked with because it's key. It's crucial that we understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, positional power is something that's external, that is handed over to you.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in job descriptions, it comes in titles, it comes in all those different things. And it should be a last resort tactic
Mm-hmm.
for leadership. In other words, I've exhausted all my other, things, and it is a last resort. Now, why positional power is to me so dangerous, if it is the way you lead, is because it is given, therefore it can be taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And most people's fear is that it can be given and it can be taken away. This is the other part of it. When you sit in a place of it's given and it can be taken away, there is a dependency on external power in order for you to hold the space. In other words, people will do what I say because I have the title and I have the position, versus because they are inspired, they choose to, they want to, they walk with me. And I want to make that distinction really clear. And so there's an aspect that has always sat with me, that positional power is actually a forceful power. It's external, and it's a power that we hold. I always visualize. I'm a visual thinker. I always say that we hold it over people.
Yeah, because the more you depend, the more you deplete. So as your energy depletes because you're dependent, the more you
Oh,
drag and pull
girl.
from others. So it's this recycling of negative energy. It's this complete recycle of negativity that's just, it's not good all around. And so it's this divisive it's this it's a cesspool of it's so toxic. It is so toxic, and I've seen it time and time again. And it's really something that you would visualize it that way, or put it in such a visual, and that the more you depend, the more you force.
Well, and this is a challenge with when people look at positional power this way, and when they look at power this way, they look at power as a limited thing.
Yeah.
And in other words, if I have it, you can't have it.
Sure.
Right? If it comes from my title, I have it and you can't have it. And therefore I fight to make sure I have all of it and you can't have it.
Sure.
So that's positional power in my working definition. And I'm telling people this is my working definition because I need to compartmentalize things to keep them clear. So
yeah.
Now let's talk about power. So I equate positional power as a force, an external, a handing over of authority. Now let's look at power. When I think of power in the way I like to look at it, I think of it as an internal thing, right? And I like to tell people that we all have power.
It is a mindset.
And it is an internal thing. And what I mean by an internal thing, and I'll love for you to elaborate on it, my power comes from a few things. It comes from all my successes that have built me. It comes from my falls and my get back up, in which I know I can fall and get back up. It comes from me understanding, now get this everybody, it comes from me understanding my privileges and holding my privileges as giftings. It comes from me understanding that For me to have power, Natasha can have the same amount of power because her power does not deplete my power because it is within me. But this is the other really important thing about this power that I'm talking about. No one can take it from me. That is why it is so key. No one can take it from me because it's built in my belief in self, my confidence in who I am, but it's built in my belief in my capacity to solve problems, find solutions, innovate, create, connect, communicate, interact, engage. And it also comes with this dynamic that exists between me and another person. You see, the type of power that we're talking about lives in my ability to influence and inspire. And everybody knows in Suzanne's world, the only way I can influence and inspire is how boldly I lead myself, not anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It lives in my own personal mastery and personal self-control. So two very different things. Thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, and I very recently I had this epiphany of a scripture that I've known most of my life, and didn't know when it comes, it comes.
Yeah,
And didn't know that it would come now. And it's Proverbs 18:16, and that scripture is a man's gift makes room for him and bringeth him before great men. And I've known that scripture my whole life. And only until recently did the understanding come to me in this way. For most of my career, I have supported or thought I supported, and what I was doing actually in that support was leaning on others for validation and called it support. I was giving my gift away. And in doing so, in essence, was reflective of positional power.
Ooh, that's deep. Go.
In that, it was reflective of positional power. Because when you give your gift away, without boundary, without knowing, and it was unconsciously I was doing so, without knowing, when you lean on others for validation, you have now given power, because now you're dependent on them to keep feeding that. And so when you're dependent, you're now forcefully seeking from others to keep feeding that. So that's that positional power that you speak of. And so when I got that understanding, go ahead, Suzanne.
Oh, life changed, didn't it?
It changed in such a way that I understand that word says he gave that gift to me, not you, not him, not them, to me, which means that I am supposed to share that gift with a boundary. And in doing so, that's my power. And that I can be in that power responsibly, carefully, and with intentional mindset, and that I'm not in this external power, but this inward power that allows me to be emotionally intelligent and thoughtful about how I am with others in my leadership. Now, and in doing that, I am no longer dependent on the validation of others with regard to my gift. Because the only being that I'm leaning on now is the higher power that gave me the gift in the first place.
So let us break this down for a moment, because this is deep. So this is the thing about what you're talking about, is that the moment I look outside of myself And this is the crazy dynamic of positional power. And the crazy dynamic is if you do not understand the source of power. So the moment I look outside of myself for power, I've given power over to someone else.
That's right.
Now I'm going to fight you for it because I want it back.
That's right.
And the only way I'm going to get it back is if you validate how beautiful, brilliant, talented, gifted I am. And if you choose not to, I am going to feel diminished,
depleted, exhausted, tired.
Right? Because I am going to fight for it.
Yes.
I want everyone to get this because what Natasha just dropped is so powerful. However, this is the thing. You know, I was reading scripture earlier today. I was reading, I can't remember what I was reading. I've been reading so many things. And it said that, you know, if you know, God hid our giftings inside us because he figured we wouldn't look there to find it. Right? However, we got to do the work to look there to find it. This is the beauty of what you're saying, is that when I stop looking outward for power, i.e., I've given it to you, now I'm waiting for you to tell me how amazing I am. So I've given you control over my destiny. When I stop looking out there and I start doing the work of looking in here and building in here, I tap into a limitless source of power. Because this is what I know, is I have no idea how brilliant I am. I have no idea how deep the well runs. I have no idea how abundant this space is. And when I tap in, it is a journey of self-exploration and self-discovery. And the more I discover, the more empowered, listen to the word, and powerful I become. But this is the other thing of why leaders who lead from within are such different players, is that if I know that my resource is this deep, this big, and I can't even meet the bottom of it, I can also give you that space.
Yes, that's right.
Right?
That's absolutely right.
And not only can I give you that space, I can demand that you live in that space. I will create the space for you to find the depths, because what ends up happening is that I understand that my power is limitless if I'm willing to do the work to explore and find it. And your power is limitless, but we're not competing for a limited source of external power.
Yes, that's right.
Girl.
That's right. That's exactly right.
We could done now.
Listen, that whole unhealthy competition thing, that's the resolve. That is the solution. That is exactly it. But that work is not easy. That work is hard. And oftentimes, I don't know if we ever really experience some real knockdown situations, or situations that knock us back to the point where we actually start to introspect.
Yes.
Enough to do it. Because oftentimes when we do have situations, we're often so focused on the situations that we don't do the introspection. But I would challenge that when you do have those situations, to take that opportunity to introspect and not focus on the situation, because there's something in that for you to learn. And there's something in that for you that's going to elevate you to the next level in your leadership. It's not the situation. There's something in that to elevate you to the next level in your leadership. And that happened for me. Something was happening, and I though it took a minute for me not to focus on the situation, but when I decided to introspect, it was in those moments that elevated me to my next level of my leadership journey. And it's been an amazing and empowering journey thus far.
You know, I can give you two distinct things. I remember when I first started my career, I had this supervisor, Cherie Elder. God bless this woman. And I remember Cherie would bat me around like bat me around. but not in an abusive way, in a loving, like, girlfriend, we gonna call for some stuff out of you.
Yeah.
I remember no one had ever done this to me. And so I'm accustomed to being liked. Being like, you all good and all this. And this woman, I would get reports back all red. I would sit in her office and she would be like batting me around. And I never forget, I had a breakdown and I'm like tears and I'm having a monster pity party. And she looked at me and she said, honey, you don't have to like me. But she says, but within you, there is some good stuff. And my job is to help you find it. Once she shifted me, because until then, I was looking for her to validate me. As you said, I was looking, tell me I'm good, tell me I'm amazing, tell me I'm that. And all she was saying was, you're not there yet. There's more in there. You're not there yet. There's more in there. Go looking for it. And she supervised me for 4 years. And she created such a shift in me that I didn't know anywhere else to look. She was done. And she was the first person that taught me about personal power.
Yeah.
And not looking outside. And it's such a great thing. And I remember the other one was being in a management position, and my boss did something to another person that, when Natasha, this is the moment, and you can say nothing and secure your position and lose all your personal power, because that's what it does.
Yes.
Or you can risk everything and you're probably going down. But you can't collaborate with positional power.
That's right.
I tell you, as leaders, we always meet those places and spaces, because positional power often gives easy access, but uncertainty. And it's almost like, I got to play this game that takes too much from me to continue to have my access. So I remember, that moment that feels like an hour, but it's like this.
Yes.
When you've got to choose.
Yes.
And I remember walking down the hall. The hall seemed like forever, because I know once I open that door, I'm going to open my mouth and truth is about to fall out. And when I finished saying what I had to say and I walked away, I knew my job. I knew it was done. I knew I was over. But it was the best thing. And this is the piece about this type of leadership. I was whole and complete. There was nothing you could take from me in that moment.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more powerful than knowing that you can survive.
Yes.
I want to get this, that you can survive and there's nothing that you can take from me.
Yes.
Because as long as I'm whole here, I am powerful.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Absolutely. And this in this space right now, it's so important for me as I continue to learn and study diversity, equity, and inclusion, and study bias, unconscious and subconscious bias. It's really important to me to be with an organization that's very intentional about its diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the power in me is that I too am intentional about the organizations that I choose to work with and for, and being intentional about my DE&I purpose, and that I am so clear about that. And that if that organization is not clear, then I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And so that's my so it's not about, I want the, your listeners, Suzanne, to be clear. So this isn't about, walking up to your boss and saying, I got a piece of my mind, I want to share something with you, blah, blah, blah. It's not about that, not at all. But what's it about is becoming a one, truly one with you, your thoughts, who you are, really understanding that validation is self-made first. Power is self-given first.
Absolutely.
And that when you have it, you become crystal clear about what your priorities are. And oftentimes your priorities are not that of your organization's priorities. And when you become clear about your priorities, you can then start to align your professional goals with that of organizations that align with your personal goals. And then you can become the transformative leader you desire to be.
You are talking such truth. The last place I had the privilege of working, and the last boss I had the privilege of ever working for, I remember my interview, and I remember they interviewed me, and the last thing I said to them is, if your policies on oppression, equity, inclusion just live on paper, do not hire me. Because I guarantee you, I will make your life not a good situation, because it's who I am.
Yeah.
If it is real and you want that to live in the environment, then I am your person. What it took for me to get to that place was a journey. But once I got there, Natasha, I couldn't exist any other way.
Yeah.
Right? But the other thing that it gave me was, it gave me access to, I'm not afraid to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not afraid to get let go. I'm not afraid, because I know what's in me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think, when we talk about issues of equity, oppression, marginalization, all those things, they are born of the belief that power is limited.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so not.
Mm-hmm.
They are born of the belief that resources are limited.
Mm-hmm.
And they are so not.
That's right.
They are only limited if we are codependent. And I mean dependent on someone else for validate us, dependent on someone else to have us dependent on someone else to give us opportunity. And you get to the place where you understand that power is abundant because it's in all of us.
Yeah.
You begin to create opportunities.
Yes. And I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take it here I'm gonna take it here.
Take it, girl.
I want us to reflect on community policing and what we see. And when we talk about external power or positional power, and we hear comments all the time and read comment and say, well, if they just, do what the officer says. And some of the commands that the officers make is, answer me, get out of the car, and some of those commands are it's so representative of positional power.
Absolutely.
And so I'm hoping that this breakdown of definition really gets, and it's so simplistic, yet it's so simplistically challenging, and that I hope that we could start to have the conversation about how positional power is eroding the very public safety positions of our community policing that and it's the dynamic that's being created is not we can't continue to move in that direction. And I do believe a lot of it is positional power.
Oh, it's absolutely positional power. And this is a challenge. And remember the statement that my supervisor made to me: if you do not understand the dynamics of power, you're destined to abuse it. So I want us to just be, to pull back for a moment and look at officers. So, and look at any person who is in authority and position. So if I give you authority without training, and I don't mean training in terms of how to handle a gun, I don't mean training in terms of the skills, I mean training in terms of unpacking what authority and power is. If I give you that authority, please understand, we all come to our authority with our training from our parents, our training from our school, our training from the school bully, our training from how our family did conflict, our training about how our family viewed power. That's how we come to it. North America has a history of power that is oppressive. So it is not surprising that is the model that most people in authority have, is that when I have power, it's over.
Yeah, and it was actually once one that was actually the model for successful organizations. Right, absolutely, yeah.
So until we really begin to unpack this and start to retrain everybody, this dynamic will always exist.
Yeah.
Right? It will always exist, because as you said, the work that is required to not depend on title, position, and why, and I want to really say this because it's so important to say. The officers aren't different than most people in power. And I really want you to get this. They're no different than the teacher. They're no different than the boardroom person. They're no different than that. The only difference is they're armed.
Okay, so you said it, and I'm going to say I carry a concealed weapon. I have a concealed weapons permit, and I have a concealed weapon. And I don't know too many people that will say this, but I'm going to tell you, before I carried a weapon, I would not do certain things. I would not, if someone cut me off, if someone looked at me a certain way, there are certain things I would not do. When I started to carry my weapon, I saw and felt a certain boldness that I didn't have prior to, and that is the truth. And I am not a police officer. I am not authorized to shoot. I am not authorized to tase. I do not have a badge. But what I was a citizen that had a concealed weapons permit and a concealed weapons license to carry a weapon. And if I, as a concealed weapons permit owner, felt emboldened with a weapon, I can only imagine what you feel like in a uniform.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for being so candid, because this is the thing, is that until we are willing to reflect and look at what happens, right? I am so grateful for, I have been blessed with like some of the best mentors. Like, and I didn't earn it. God just put them in my path. So one of the reasons I'm so conscious of the dynamics of power was because I had conscious people who taught me the dynamics of power and what happens when you abuse it and what happens when you don't and all these things.
Yeah.
Right? And until you have that awareness,
Yeah.
once you were given authority, you will be emboldened for using your word.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have access, unless you have that consciousness.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So, and I'll never forget that she said we are all have the ability to abuse it. We all have the ability to oppress. We all have the ability to marginalize. The
All
only
of it.
thing that stops us from doing it is the awareness
Yes.
that we have that capacity. And this is not good, bad person. This is just what happens because power is seductive. Titles are seductive. Authority is seductive. And unless you do the inner work, you will be seduced.
No question about it. And let me just say that I didn't like that, and I didn't have control over. I didn't have control over that at the time when I had the weapon. I didn't understand the awareness. I didn't understand that, and all I knew is that I knew what I felt, and I didn't like that feeling, knowing that there was something that was brewing, and I didn't like that, and so I don't carry a concealed weapon now because I didn't like what that felt like.
Now,
I can't explain what that felt like. I just didn't like what it felt like. But I completely agree with you, Suzanne. It is about awareness. And I do think that it's time for us to really understand, and we talked about this before, you and I, that each and every single one of us has the ability, and when given the opportunity, to oppress, to marginalize, to victimize, to discriminate, when given power, and taking that power into a positional positional power.
Right, because power is when you believe you have privilege.
That's right.
Right. And when I have privilege, in other words, I'm a part of a group. I have access that someone else doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not clear, then it is, I need to hold that privilege. I need to protect that privilege. I need to ensure that other people don't have that privilege. That's kind of the dynamics that we have been conditioned into because we are taught that these privileges are limited.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so it requires, one of the reasons I do mindset mastery is this is the work.
Mm-hmm.
The work is to look at my conditioning. The work is to look at my biases. The work is to look at my thought patterns. The work is to look at how my experiences and beliefs impact my behavior. That is the work.
Yeah.
Unless I'm doing that work, I am likely to be seduced by the things that make me feel good, or seduced by fear, by my biases, by my anxieties, by my uncertainties. That's the rub.
Yeah. And it's heightened. It is heightened to the point of racism when you really have power, and you've had so much privilege, and you are in fear of losing that position and that power and that privilege, to where you begin to oppress in such an extreme fashion, and we can get into racism.
I gotta call you back, girl. You always drop this at the end. So now you gotta come back and we gotta continue this conversation.
Yeah, but certainly a dynamic.
One of the reasons, and I will say, when I first chose to do this, I have I have great supporters. So I see Cindy out there. I see Yetta out there. I see Sharia. Because when I wanted to go down this path and have these conversations, I was like, I don't know. Because I know things and I can go places, and we need to have these conversations.
Yeah.
But again, it was choosing what was in heavy on my heart and having the courage to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to continue to have it because I am so grateful for you.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you so much for these platforms. And I'm going to tell you another thing about having the internal mindset of power is having the courageous opportunity to voice exactly these type of, and having these type of conversations and courageously speaking about the things that we need to speak about for such a time as now. We have to start having these kinds of conversations and stop kind of baby pedaling around the issue. If we don't have these kinds of discussions, we're never going to get to really some of the solutions that we can see in our lifetimes. I don't suggest that we're going to see an end to some of the systemic issues that have plagued our communities since the beginning of time. But I do believe that we can see an end to some of this unhealthy competition that we continue to see in our workplaces, some of this unhealthy sabotage that we see amongst women in organizations, some of this this fight to create diverse and equitable and inclusive workspaces. I think that we can see these things come to fruition if we choose to have courageous conversations. I'm in a space in my life where I'm willing to step up and do that. And I thank you, Suzanne, and for anyone who is willing to do so and have the platform to do it. So thank you for your courage and your tenacity. You know how much I just enjoy you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And this is the reason I'm inspired to do it, and I'm empowered to do it. It's, I believe I hang out with a bunch of super achievers. I hang out with thought leaders. I hang out with people who are up to big things. And you may not know their name yet, but you will. So they're up to big things. And as we are cultivating and creating new leaders, this is our opportunity to make the shift. Yeah. So as I see Yetta and Ken Decker out there, as they step into leadership in a big way, it's for us to have these conversations so that we're moving from a much more empowered place. It is to, when I see Patricia out there and she's about to do the springboard for her platform, girlfriend has skills and talents. And so it's to make sure that this conversation, as she steps into a position where she has the privilege to influence other people, that as she's doing this, the context of power and privilege is clear. So for me, it is really passing on the awareness. So we have the domino effect of that awareness. It's when you and I sit down and we have this conversation and we say, we got to have this conversation so that those who we touch can be touched by this conversation. I believe that that's the responsibility of a leader. I believe that that's the responsibility of an influencer. I think it is the responsibility that when you see something gone wrong, and you have a part of the equation, step in and say, okay, I'm gonna do my part to right this wrong. I'm gonna do my part to turn the boat a little bit. And it's the domino effect of our conversation that is so powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is how we responsibly exude and exert power.
Absolutely.
And absolutely, yes.
And spread it, right? Yes. And I love the comments that are happening. Yet it's saying moving forward together, as that makes us even better, right? Or the poignant, provocative, picante dialogue. Love you, Yetta. Patricia is like, this is too good. Got to have a part 3. So you're coming back because they're at part 3. And Cindy's saying things are happening for us, not to us.
Yeah.
Stacy, and here's another dynamic woman, personal power, not looking for it externally. Love it, love it. Curious, that's good. So many times we seek validation before we can shine. Yeah, we just need to shine from within.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing I wanna leave everyone with is that, you know, power lives in the work, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It lives in the work, and it's doing my work, you doing your work. It's cracking open the books, it's studying, it's seeking to understand. It's when you see something that doesn't land for you right, and you always know because it don't feel good in your gut, is to go explore and go, why does this not feel good? And when you and do different, so that you're all, for me, it's all about alignment. I want to live in this place. I call it ease, right? Ease and grace. I want to live in this place of ease and grace where I'm in alignment, because I know that when I'm in alignment, I am my most powerful. Right?
Absolutely.
So,
I want to just leave your listeners with, we should never seek to achieve power, because we already have it.
yeah.
Always seek to achieve, to transform lives. Seek to achieve, to transform lives. Never seek to achieve power. You already have that.
And you know, and your access to your own power is excellence. It is the thriving to be the best person you can be.
Absolutely.
It's the thriving to serving
others.
Yeah, in the best way possible. And you know, it lives in giving your power, or giving access to opportunity and power to other people. One of my biggest things is whenever I've gone to work at an organization, I would remind myself that my role is to make myself no longer needed. Right? I am supposed to cause leadership within everybody who is in my sphere. That when I am done, I am no longer needed.
Yes.
And most people say that, well, why would you do that? Because then I am the most powerful. Organizations do not want to let you go when you're able to do that.
That's right.
Because it's a lifting up of every single person within the organization. And what happens in that space is so dynamic, so powerful, so innovative, so creative, that the organization is humming at a different place. But I gotta spread it and find gifting and power and brilliance in every single person I touch.
Yes.
That's when magic happens.
Yes. Yes. Seek your source from a higher power. Seek your source from the universe, not someone else. And when you do, and when you serve above yourself, that energy and that source will always come back to you. It always will. It always will. It will divinely come back to you. Always work yourself out of your job. Serve others above yourself, because where you're elevated to, it's for you. That's your power. You'll always be elevated above where you last was, because you're serving others. The universe will always take care of you. I'm a prime example of that. I know, Suzanne, you can, that's your testimony. You can certainly speak to that. Always service above self. Always. That's Absolutely. Your power.
And with that, I have been speaking to Natasha Hampton. We're gonna have more conversations. She might just be a regular guest. You know, we'll be like, oh, we're back.
That's it. That's my pillow on the couch back there. That's my pillow, and I have a permanent dent right there. I'll be right there.
Oh my goodness. You know, the comments are great. Seek to transform, help make difference for the good of others. And the awesome truth is you get caught up in the goodness. That is beautiful.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we got all these. Well said, Natasha. Well said. All right, everyone. This was Unstoppable Mindset, right? I trust we gave you some goods to possibly reset your thinking, or at least have you go, I got to do some exploration. I got to look at this power versus privilege, this internal power, positional power. Do the work. We will be here every Thursday with inclusive leadership. This is where we talk about diversity, inclusion, equity, because it so needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
I want to say to everyone that if you want to continue in this conversation, definitely we'll drop the link, book some time with me, book 20 minutes. We will explore this and talk about it further, because this is so important. If you want to be part of a community of people who are up to big things, these are the super achievers. Definitely knock on the door of the Unstoppable Mindset for Super Achievers Facebook group and hang out with us. You know what? Every time you come, I'm just like full and speechless.
Well, let me say, your mindset has not been mastered until you had a heart-to-heart with Suzanne Hart. So please believe me. Yes, absolutely.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I have been speaking to the beautiful Natasha Hampton. Natasha, before we go, how can people find you, continue to connect with you? How's it?
Thank you so much, Suzanne. I am on all social media platforms at High Heel Leadership. All social media platforms, IG, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at High Heel Leadership. Or you can reach out to me on my website at natashahampton.com.
And this lady is just getting started. Everyone, we will be back here next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please do leave a comment. Let us know what you're taking away. Also, let us know what you're going to put into action from what you took away and heard tonight. Like this, like our page, subscribe if you're on YouTube. We will be back here next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Blessings. Take care.